Hey everyone, today we're looking at the side stabilizer mount that we produce and how to mount it to a Mach 30, PSE Mach 30. What they have here with the Mach 30, the Mach 34, and also with the Levitate is a proprietary part that they designed that fits against the riser, and on the bottom portion of that part is female threading for attaching your side stabilizer mount. So what we're going to do here is show you step by step how to mount our product directly up to this bow so that it won't move and it will stay 100% tight for you. I'll give you the specs and I'll talk about the tools that I use and that I recommend that you use. So first off, how are you going to get it from us straight out of the package? What's it going to look like? This is what you'll get. It's set up like this to be compact for shipping purposes. There are 3 modules here. This is the riser module. This is what we call the middle module that has the logo on it. And then this is the quick disconnect module. So what you'll get is all of that in a nice compact setup like this. Inside of the quick disconnect module, you'll have your Torx head screw that is inside of the quick disconnect pin. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you get this is take note. Now there isn't one on here, but there will be one on yours if you order it from us. There will be an orange sticker pointing to this particular junction here, this screw, and telling you that it is left-hand thread, / reverse thread, same thing. So that would mean that you are turning left to tighten and right to loosen on that one. First thing you'll want to do though is take your T30. I use this to start out with, T30 Torx T-handle wrench, and I'll loosen. So let's loosen up to start, right? Loosen up, first one. Loosen another one. So you got 2 loose, 2 of the junction points that are now loose. And that allows you then to get access to the quick disconnect module. Take that out. You'll see that's like this here that has the screw protruding out of it. So take the screw out of it because you're going to need that for the next step. So you have a completely loose assembly here. You'll take note that the riser module has 2 completely different sides to it. The flat side is best for any kind of mounting scenario where it is going flush against another flat piece of metal that offers enough surface area to get a really good connection between those 2 surfaces. If you have a bow with a bushing that is protruding from the riser that is small enough to fit inside of this channel, then you may want to run it so this faces the bow. In this case, you do have a flat surface here that you're going to be mounting against. So we're going to be mounting with the screw inside of the channeled out portion. That'll be the way for your PSE Mach 30, your PSE Mach 34, the Levitate, and a lot of bows, to be quite honest, will be mounted this way. So before you can actually go and do the mounting here though, you want to get your string stop out of the way. So I have one of our TSS units on here, of course, and you're going to use a T20 Torx head for this one to loosen the screw, it's a factory screw that PSE has here. Loosen that. That binds into the carbon rod, and then you can completely remove your string stop. If you haven't checked out string stops in the past, you're really missing out because ours are the quietest on the market, and they're also built to be extremely durable over a long period of time. So take that out, and that now gives you access to that female thread that I referenced. That is 5/16/24 thread. So let's go here and start to tighten this in without the use of tools to start. And the reason I do that is because you have kind of a tight space to work with here when it comes to the cables and their relationship to where the bracket is. So I hand tighten, and I'll often even just grab, like, I have a bit here that has a T30 in it, and I'll just use that, put that in place, turn that by hand to get this thing tight to start. Okay, so what I do is I'm shooting for hand tighten to the point that I can then let it sit there on its own and move on to the next step, which will be using tools. I am trying to get this horizontally level in relationship to perpendicular to the riser. So I'm going to move on to the next tool that I use for this. And in this case, I'm using a long extension. I'm not even sure what the length of this extension is. It's a 6-inch, I believe. 6-inch, 1/4-inch drive, attaches to a 1/4-inch drive socket wrench. And of course, you can attach your bit to the end. So I'll use this next. And why I'm going so long with this is because then I can be actually at a position where I'm beyond where the string is. On a bow with a longer brace height, say the Mach 34 that is coming in around 7 inches, you're going to need even longer if you want to be on the other side of the string. Although in that case, with a longer brace height, you may want to be in front of the string where you're doing the tightening at. You may not actually need to be on the other side like I am here. But I prefer this on this particular bow and any bow that has a setup like this. So start to slowly tighten that in. I'll get it to the point where I'm like, okay, that's probably 90 to 95% as tight as it's going to need to be. That's just a mental, kind of a feeling that I have because I've done it for so many years. But I am going to move on then to the torque wrench. The torque wrench will show us exactly how tight we're getting this. And what I have it set for, and what I recommend you use, is about 140 or up to maybe 145, about 145 inch-pounds. So I have mine set for 145. I found that these certainly can handle that. They probably can handle more, but you don't really need more. You're going to have a really tight setup. It's not going to come loose on you if you follow these steps, use these kinds of tools, and hit these specs. So let's go with, and this is also 1/4 drive. Now I'll attach my extension onto the torque wrench, and let's see if we can get this fully tight at about 145 inch-pounds. And there we go. So I had already essentially hit that about 145 inch-pound mark. So that joint, that particular part, that is of course again the riser module, that is now very tight against that flat face of that mounting block that is attached to the riser. I suppose if you were to really, try to force things to move, run into something really hard with your bow in hand, yeah, you may find that you could get that to shift a little. I have not seen these come loose on their own, or even through impact for the most part, come loose when you follow these steps and you hit these numbers. I just am extremely confident. We have so many thousand customers using products like this, and I'm just really confident with all the time that we have in on them that they'll work well for you in this way. So that's done, and your next step would be really kind of dependent on what you want to do when it comes to adding your sidebar and what it is you're trying to accomplish. So I have a side stabilizer right here, and I also have one of the vibration suppressing washers on there. And I'm going to put the QD pin on. So the QD pin just spins right onto your stabilizer, male threads. And then I'll often do it like this, where I literally will, my next step will be to put the stabilizer in, even though we're not at a point where we're tightened down with these other two screws. So it's going to hang loose there, of course. At this point though, then you can decide where you want to start. Now let's think about what it is you're trying to accomplish here with this sidebar. What is it that you're hoping to gain by putting this on, first of all? and where you decide to end up with it. And then also how much weight's on it. These are somewhat, I think, difficult questions for certain people to answer just simply because they have never done this. So they don't know what they're looking to get. Here's what I would tell you if you're just starting out and not sure, maybe you haven't even shot the bow yet and you really don't know what the characteristics of the bow are. So you're just going into it maybe in a sense almost blind. You just want to find out how the bow handles with your bar in place. Well, then I would say probably do something along the lines of about this angle right here, where it's so horizontal because the bow is canted forward a little bit. Horizontal would be right about here. So a little bit below horizontal will be right about here. I think that would be a great place to start and then see what response you're getting from the bow. That is, to me, one of the most critical things, and you have to do that. You can't go into it and say, this is what I know is going to work because this is what worked on a previous bow. There are times in the year, there are periods throughout, even within a given month, where I might make changes to my side stabilizer angle and even make changes to the amount of weight. It all comes down to results. It all comes down to what you're getting on target, how it feels. Are you getting the performance you are seeking from the bow? That will determine where you end up. So let's just go ahead and put this at about just a little bit below what I would say would be horizontal. And again, you see I'm turning left here because left tight in this case, right loose. This is a reverse thread location. And I did that with just the T handle because that's all I need at this point, right? And then we'll go ahead and we'll tighten in on the bottom. And now what are we trying to get here? So let's not tighten in yet fully. And this one isn't even fully done, of course, because we haven't hit it with the torque wrench, right? But it's tight enough for now. So what are we trying to get here now? When it comes to where is it located in reference to, you could say, to this plane of the bow. How close to the string set, how close to the cables, how far out away from the shooter is it, et cetera, et cetera. What are we looking to do here? Well, again, you're trying to provide some degree of counterbalance. You are looking for the ability for, let's say you come to full draw and you just more or less find the bow is naturally wanting to settle in more quickly than it was. You're at close to where you need to be. The level on your sight is certainly not something you're fighting. Also, meaning you are very close to where you need to be. Where I would typically set one of these up is not so that it is directly parallel to the center line of the bow. I see a lot of that. If it works for people, great, go with it. But what I'm typically looking to do is find where it would be parallel to that center line coming back and then move off a few degrees to the left of that. So I'm a right-handed shooter, so for me it's to the left. If you're setting up a left-handed bow, you're actually going the opposite direction, of course. I'll set it up right about here. That would be a great place for me to start, and I would leave it there for at least 10, 15 shots. See how things go from there. I'm not going to go through the rest of the tightening process on these two joints. You already know that I recommend 140 to 145 inch-pounds. So that's what I would do on those two. I'm going to tighten those down to that level. Possibly, though, not until I decide that this is the final configuration. I want to make it tight enough that I can shoot, though, and not be worried that it might come loose on me during the shooting. So what I'll do maybe then is go as tight as I think I can with just a T handle, and if I feel that's sufficient, then I'll stop. I may take the small socket wrench here and tighten a little with that. But as you saw, the previous, when I first tightened this screw, all I used was the small socket wrench. When I switched over to the torque wrench, we were already essentially right at 145. It took very little additional torque before that thing started to pop. So I had already gotten there essentially with this tool. So how you do that, the steps A through Z, that's to some degree on you. What is not, though, in my opinion, is tools. What is not is the spec. And also with this particular bow, with the Mach 30, the 34, the Levitate, I strongly recommend that you do not try to run this bracket opposite of how I set it up. Don't run it with the channeled out portion in against the base of, or the face of this mounting block. Make sure you have as much flat surface against flat surface as you can get, and you'll be good to go. Now, some people might need to. It's not preferred for me, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but some people might need to mount from the front. We do have a video that shows how to take the side stabilizer mount and use it on the front. It does require a quick disconnect. I have one sitting here. It does require a quick disconnect to hold the mount in place. So the riser bracket in this case needs to be held in place with something other than just that screw that it comes with. In this case, if you're mounting from the front, you're going to have your quick disconnect pressed in against, and then you're going to have that larger diameter screw that we use, a larger head anyway. It's still a 5/16/24 thread, but it's a 1/4 inch Allen that goes into the quick disconnect. That's just going to be holding the entire assembly in place if you go with riser module on the front. That is what you would have to do. And in this case, you could check to see, do I have a bracket here? Yeah, I do. So I have an extra bracket that's laying right here. Let's just see. So it looks to me like, without even testing, it looks to me like this bushing that is on the Mach 30 is certainly too big. It is. It is too big to fit into this channeled out portion right here. So in this case, again, we're going with the flat surface. If you hit these numbers though, the numbers that I recommend, you're still going to end up with a really, really good hold. You don't need your bushing to fit inside there. Now, I have seen a number of bows. Around the time we designed this product, I was shooting Athens, and Athens had smaller diameter bushings, and they did fit right inside. I don't know where they are now on those, but they did at that time. So that was part of what drove the design of this. But there are still bows, of course, that will fit inside that channeled out portion. So that about covers our product specific to this bow. And if you have another type of mount, you might find that there are some differences as far as what is best for this mounting block, but this is certainly what I believe strongly is the best solution here. So taparchery.com is our website. You guys know that that's been out there now for about almost 8 years. The company has been in existence now for about 8 years, and the website went up shortly after we formed things. It was originally just titaniumarcheryproducts.com, which is still a functional address. It will still take you to the same site, but now we also have the domain of taparchery.com. And Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. You can reach out to me, 717-814-9169. I do appreciate phone calls if you have detailed questions, because we can resolve those things much more quickly over the phone. Take care, and don't forget, keep your bows tapped out.